So if I could ask everybody to please mute themselves and stay muted until the end. Any questions or feedback or anything, you can please feel free to contact me throughout the chat. I'll be on the chat and responding as we go. But yeah, in the meantime, if you could please keep yourselves muted, and we'll get going in just a second. Thank you very much. So all right, so welcome everybody to another virtual tasting here. Today we are doing the single malts of Scotland, as I'm sure you're all aware.
I'd love to see me here.
And can we just make sure we've got a couple more muted? Sorry about that. I thought we had everybody. And yeah, so we have got 6 great whiskies to taste and look forward to. Right. And we're looking forward to all of them. We're going to be taken through these whiskies from Single Malts of Scotland by Chanel Liquori, who is the International Sales Manager, and Julie Hamilton, the Global Ambassador for Single Malts of Scotland. So I'll introduce these lovely ladies to you now, and they're going to take you through these whiskies. And like I said, if you've got any feedback or questions, shoot them through to me in the chat, and we will go from there. So over to you guys.
Hello, guys. Take a swig of my coffee.
Yes.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us today. As Anton introduced, my name is Chanel Liquori, and this is Julie Hamilton, our Global Brand Ambassador. We have been very looking forward to doing this tasting with you guys for a couple of weeks now. I know it's been in the books. Yeah, we're taking you through the order. Julie, remind me of the order of the whiskeys, just so everyone's ready to go.
So we'll start with the Single Malts of Scotland Reserve casks. So if we begin with the Glen Cadam, followed by the Blair Athol, and then we'll try the Speyside. And then after that, we'll do the Deanston, the Tobermory, and the Kalila.
I think it's a Glenelgan.
Sorry, Glenelgan, Tobermory. Sorry. It is.
Yeah, just to confirm, there's no Deanston, so don't panic.
There's no Deanston. Sorry, that's my fault.
Guys, you can't find it. No, the Glenelgan will be the 4th. Thanks for that.
Sorry.
Anton, can I just, ladies, can you just give me a second? It's Ian McKinley here from Marlborough Whisky. I'd just like to explain that we unfortunately gave these 2 lovely ladies the time quite incorrectly, because daylight saving got lost somewhere. So these ladies have rushed along from the breakfast to talk to you very quickly. So back to you, ladies, but I thought we'd apologise to you publicly. Sorry about that.
Thank you. That's kind of you to explain. So you'll excuse the 2 of us having cups of coffee. It's currently just 8:20 in the UK just now. So yeah, so we are from Elixir Distillers. Elixir Distillers are an independent bottler until 3 months ago, around that. We were part of the Whisky Exchange family, and now we're out, branched out on our own as Elixir Group. We are what began as the passion project for Sukhinder. So we're owned by Sukhinder and Rajbir Singh. We started as Sukhinder's opportunity to bottle single casks and play with the bits and pieces of the industry that he's really super passionate about, and it's turned into now where we are now, which is it 30 markets, Chanel?
Yeah, 30, 32.
32 markets, over 30 markets worldwide now. And we bottle Single Malts of Scotland that we're about to embark on today. Single Malts of Scotland was the first label that we started with in 2002. It all began with a single cask of tomatin. So here we are now. We have 4 labels under the Single Malts of Scotland range, and we'll be tasting 2 of them today. So the first one that we've got Sorry, I'm aware my voice is about an octave lower than it normally is. This is the first words I've spoken today. The Single Malts of Scotland Reserve Casks is the most recent label that we have under Single Malts. I'm going to say SMOS from here on in, then I'll not stumble over the words. So reserve casks are very small vattings. So why don't we start to taste the whiskey rather than me rambling on for a very long time, because I'm very aware that it's night time for you guys. So Single Malts.
Leo and Alan are very happy with that idea. Got a cheers from Leo and Alan there in the corner of my.
I think so. Definitely, I would be. Once my coffee's over, I might join you, but it is Christmas, you know. So the first one that we've got here is from Glen Cadam Distillery. So Glen Cadam Distillery is one that has a relatively large portfolio of core range. But this one is, so normally when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about blending and such like, and Glen Cadam is genuinely one that has a large single malt portfolio. But this one is 4 bourbon barrels that turned 10 in February this year. And all the casks are from the same distillation run. They were originally bought from Angus Dundee for blending. So I'm going to talk about blending, but the casks were originally filled at 70%. So they came to us with a process that high filling strength is changing the wood interaction, and it'll cause more tannins to be extracted from the wood and less sugar. And as the spirit ages, the strength drops and more sugars are extracted. So as the spirit's aging, it's balancing really well. So only 10 years old, this is, I've often described this one to people as being like a fruity boiled sweetie. It's really light and sweet and delicious. It's a lovely way to start. So I hope you all enjoy it. We've bottled this range at a consistent 48% across the board. No marketing claptrap, no anything interesting to tell you other than the casks of whiskey that Ollie Chilton being our master blender, the casks of whiskey that Ollie is blending together to produce these single malts, he feels that they taste and palate best at 48%. So they can take a little water if you choose, but also they're perfectly fine on their own as well.
Okay.
Hi,
I'll just jump in for a minute, if you don't mind, Julie. Just talking to you about the SMOS Reserve Cask range. So when was this created? This was a couple of years ago, right, my love?
2019.
It's a little bit before my time, but it was created as like a gateway drug into independent bottling. So Ollie decided that people needed that next step. So from official bottlings, you know, that you see out there that Diageo put out, Willie Grant's puts out, just a little step before you get to the single cask range, because it's typically a lot shorter range, right? The single casks, it's not as easy to get to. And when you do, it can be quite a little bit more expensive, and it's really high ABV, typically cask strength. So they wanted something that was a little bit higher cask strength. He loves 48%. But he's blended together a few different casks to make it spread a little bit farther, and also to bring the cost down so people can start trying what independent bottlers are doing. It's quite a good way to do that. We found it quite successful.
Well, this is it. I think it is difficult to get, because if you consider, like, so for your markets, Chanel, we're splitting that across Asia Pacific. It's pretty big for us to have single casks. So a lot of the time it's sometimes we're very fortunate and we've got sherry butts, and there's a lot more to go around, but the majority
Not often enough.
I know, and definitely not enough. And
then I get a call from Ian saying, "Thank you for my 2 cases." Thank you for my 2 cases to spread across Australia. I'm like, yes, go forth and sell them, Ian. It's very helpful.
Yeah, it does make it more accessible for people because we've got more liquid to play with. So what does everyone think? Have we got any chat coming through? No.
Not just yet, but I'm sure the comments start to filter through. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on it, if you have what you think it tastes like, or any tasting notes that you're getting, feel free to share it in the chat, and we can discuss some of them. So I'll let you know if some of them drop in.
Okay, thank you. I can close that chat down then. Does anyone have any questions? Like, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask us any questions.
Don't bite.
Drinks higher than 48%. It does, doesn't it? It's this one, I think, is a really lovely way to start a tasting. So this one I've been talking about at festivals and events over the past little while. And yeah, let's see.
So I had a couple of comments just saying that a couple of drops of water open it up a little bit more. Ben says it's like a Waldorf salad, and it drinks higher than the 48% ABV, but not in a bad way.
Definitely in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Julie, can I suggest you just point behind you to Glen Cadam and show everybody where it is?
Oh, thanks for that, Ian.
On the map behind you.
You're just going to show me up with my geography and how rubbish
it's just north of Dundee.
it is. Give me a second.
And of course, if you find Dundee, that's it there. Well done. Well done.
Not that anybody can see that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
yes.
It makes it just a highland, because Kings Barnes, for example, on the other side of the River Tay is a lowland, because that's the borderline there between lowland and highland. So it's interesting. Do you know anything else about the distillery you can tell us?
So Glen Cadam is a distillery that there's not an awful lot of information out there about. And when I was doing my very first show that I did of 2021 was in the Midlands in Birmingham, and next to me was the Angus Dundee stand with Glen Cadam and Tom and Towel, and I thought, fantastic, I'm going to go and talk to these guys and find lots out. And they were two new members of staff, and they looked at me like I'd just fallen out the sky. So I don't have much. Hold on, and let me refer to my very trusty Environs, if you don't have it, one of the best whiskey books ever. So Glen Cadam, as we rightly pointed out, is in Brecon in Angus. So just exactly there on the map. They have a capacity of 1.3 million litres of liquid a year. So even though they've got like quite a big portfolio of whiskey, we're still able to get our hands on it. So it's they have an origin, a 10, 13, 15, 21 and 25, which is more than the likes of Glenfiddich and Glenlivet. It's a pretty heavy portfolio. So it has, that's the fun fact about Glen Cadam. Sorry, I do apologise. My computer's now going to kick in and give me all my appointments for the day. So yeah, it's been on the go since 1825, but as I say, not much. With Tom and Towel, it's the Angus Dundee Distillers Distillery.
Alex Graham, I really like that. Almost white wine-like with it. It's crisp, sweet. That's definitely what I get with Glen Cadam.
Excuse me a second.
Notes.
Oh, well, I'm glad that everyone has enjoyed the Glen Cadam. The comments have all been favourable. And perhaps it's maybe we should move on to Blair Athol. Maybe good.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, so whiskey is my jam. Parcel number 6. This is part of the Parcel number 6 release. We started bringing in the vernacular that we use in the whiskey community in terms of how we buy whiskeys. We buy whiskeys in parcels. we brought that to the fore with how we talk about reserve casks. So this was our 6th release. Typically a release is between 3 and 4 different distilleries. We tend to try and make them across regions, but I mean, it's really what's tasting delicious at the time, and he'll launch it. We'll release it. So this is the 6th one. This was done in June.
Yeah.
June this year, something like that.
Yeah.
It's all blended. This year has blended into one, to be fair. So let's say June.
Well, I started to show it at whiskey festivals at the beginning of September because we were restricted up until the UK travel was released in August, and then we started to do whiskey festivals again in September, and this is what I've been showing since then. So the next one we're going to try is from Blair Athol Distillery. So this one is 11 years old and is from 2009 first fill American oak hoggies. Now, sometimes just when Chanel's talking about how we buy whiskey, we buy parcels of casks, and occasionally there are extensive amounts of information about these casks of whiskey and what casks they've come from, and the wood, and lots of different information like that, where they've been stored. There are other times we're just told first fill American oak, and we don't know. I mean, we think that this is a fairly safe bet that this is bourbon, first fill bourbon casks.
There have been times that we have gotten hogsheads, and when we receive them, the whiskey is purple. Like, yeah. It is dark as anything, and you're like, maybe a little bit of wine influence, maybe a touch, you know. Yeah. But they just don't think about wood the way we would.
It tends to be because it's volume whiskey at that point, and it's, you know, we're buying whiskey that would otherwise be destined for blending. So we get a hold of this whiskey and then hang on to it sometimes. Sometimes we bottle it straight away if it's drinking really well. But just as Chanel said, the focus on wood that they would put into, that some companies put into it, others don't. And this is one of the ones that don't really very well. But anyway, first fill bourbon casks, let's go with. So Blair Athol is the signature malt of Bell's Original. I don't know if you get Bell's in Australia. Do you, Ian? No. So Bell's is a blend that we have in the UK. The distillery is situated in Liquori in Perthshire, which is one of the most beautiful little towns in Scotland. And even the train station, going through the train station in Liquori is pretty. It's just a lovely little place. Blair Athol is the most visited of all the Diageo distilleries, and ranks number 4 in the distilleries that are visited in Scotland. But it's on the way to the Highlands. So when people are coming in Edinburgh and Glasgow to start their Scotland tour, it's on the way up. But this would have been spirit that was destined for blending for Bell's, was the spirit that they use to put into the Bell's blend is from bourbon casks. So on the nose we got kind of sweetened hot milk, or these are my notes: sweetened hot milk and condensed milk fudge, cooked orchard fruits, and white hot chocolate powder, if there is such a thing in the world. It was more a kind of dusty.
Got a Jersey caramel in there.
Yeah.
Good one. Ooh, Vietnamese iced coffee. Then.
When I've been doing the fast description to people of what we're going to be tasting at the whiskey festivals, it's been boiled fruit sweetie for Glen Cadam, creamy toffee vanilla with this one, and then the next one I'll talk about when I come on to it. But
also, Whiskey Is My Jam has the inside scoop on where to get a Bell's blend, apparently. Apparently he's the guy to go to. Or girl, where are you?
Now, I have to say, the Bell's blend is definitely not a favourite of a lot of people. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but it's it's a peaty, it's got a peaty element to it. Well, maybe it's just me. Listen to my deep voice, that's ridiculous. I'm hoping it's going to lift at some point today. It's it's an example of a single malt whiskey that's absolutely linked in with the blend. It's produced for that, and has been right from the start. It's been there from the beginning. It's 1798 that started, and they're pushing out 2.8 million litres of liquid a year. Yeah, here's what let's see what the...
So that's about twice as much as Cadam.
Yeah.
You can believe that though.
Yeah.
Need to push out for Diageo. For sure. It's such a pretty distillery.
It's beautiful. They've got an old mash tun from Clynelish in the visitor centre that they use as a bar. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Yes.
I had a very angry Spanish lady take me around on a tour just recently. We were standing in the wrong place, so we get into trouble. But we didn't tell her we knew about whiskey, because that would have pushed her over the edge, I think.
I think typically with Blair Athol too, it's a cloudy wort from memory, so it's got a more of a nutty character, typically, like the family style. So if you like that style, then if you see indies with Blair Athol, that's typically what you'd hope to get, what you'd hope to achieve when you get that bottle. Or creamy caramel. That's also pretty good.
Yeah,
well,
they don't have a mark. Sorry, Ian, carry on.
It's certainly very creamy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Really quite mouthful.
So they do fill into sherry and bourbon casks at Blair Athol, and they don't have so they've got the flora and fauna, like all Diageo distilleries have got a flora and fauna, which is 12 years old. And they've had special releases, you know, that Diageo do special releases every year. They've had Blair Athols as part of that. With the exception of distillery only exclusives, you don't really see it as a single malt. So it is quite nice to try it on its own, out with a blend and in these nice bourbon casks as well.
Are we digging it? We got lots of thumbs up, Julie.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Maybe they're more Jersey caramel and less boiled sweets, I think. And,
the boiled sweets were from...
No, I mean like in terms of what they are enjoying.
Okay. Oh, right, okay. This one rather than number one, yes.
But Ben's just said very nutty with spicy tropical fruits and golden gaytime ice cream.
Golden gaytime, yes.
How good's the golden gaytime? And I get exactly
so
what
good.
Exactly, that's a great call, Ben.
That is a great Aussie reference. Finally, one that Julie doesn't know, and I know it. This is the first for me, guys.
Well done, Ben.
Normally, I'm talking about childhood sweeties, and Chanel's just like, no idea. But sometimes I send them to you so that you get to taste them.
That's true. I don't think I can send you a golden gaytime, mate.
No.
Well, it'll come. It's ice cream, so.
Yeah, that might be a bit messy in the post, eh?
Does anyone else have any other comments on the Blair Athol at all? I think looking at everybody, I think everyone's generally enjoying it. I know, hang on, someone's just said, would this parcel of Blair Athol have come directly from a broker? Sorry, not Diageo directly.
There's a variety of answers to that question across how we purchase our whiskies. There are times where we buy from Diageo, there are times we buy from broker. I don't know for this one specifically, unless you're going to look up Casks, Chanel. That's an awful big deal to drill down for. But yeah, sorry, I thought you were looking at something there.
I think typically it's oh God, that's hard to say, isn't it? I'm like, oh, it's Diageo, and then I'm like, oh, maybe it's not.
Yeah, It's one of the things, I feel like it's an answer that I give most of the time when people ask me questions about independent bottling. And the answer is, there's a variety of answers to that. And
I sit next to Ollie. When we're in the office, I sit next to him, and he is dealing with everyone and his dog. Like, it's distilleries, it's friends and brokers, it's people I've never heard of, there's some wheeling dealing going on. But typically, I'm not sure about that one.
There's a market, there's a marketplace for it, and companies, Diageo, Pernod Ricard, Edrington, companies like that will come on, and they'll put things onto the market. There are brokers who I like. So I've been in whiskey for a very long time, and I have never once, I don't think, met a broker who is actually a proper bona fide whiskey broker. You've got cask investment companies that are doing, they're selling 2 or 3 casks at a time. But these guys that are brokers, it's, they're shifting parcels of hundreds of casks from different places to different places. So it's like Kaiser Soze of the whiskey trading.
Julia, I think there's a fair bit of the brokers try to reach out to people in Australia to try and sell them casks, and I often get questions about that. And my answer is, I've never bought anything from a broker yet. Sometimes it's very hard just to get samples from them, and when you do get samples, you understand why it's on the open market. But I think what they're offering, you guys and Ollie particularly, it would be the creme de la creme, because they know your reputation.
I think also, Ian, it's a case of there's brokers and there's brokers, and that's what I mean about the kind of Kaiser Soze part of the guys that Ollie deals with. I've never ever met them. I've met a lot of people from cask investment companies and people who are, just as you described, putting things in the market with no samples. And always be wary of, for all of you, I'm not telling you this, Ian, but like, always be wary of people who have a too good to be true offer, because 9 times out of 10
seldom follows through, right? On that note, something that might be too good to be true. What about the Speyside Distillery? Let's move on. Not get weighed down with all of that.
So, in another too good to be true scenario, this whiskey is a Speyside distillery. We're not allowed to tell you that it's Macallan. I didn't say that, and we're being recorded, aren't we? We're not allowed to tell you that.
I have never heard you say it. It's early for you. That is why you said it.
The closest I ever got was a Speyside distillery. It starts with N.
Thanks a lot, man.
I'm not allowed to tell you that. There you go. I don't know why anyone would think it, because anyway, we purchased this liquid in a parcel from Edmonton, and this was purchased in a slightly different way to how we normally do it, in that it was purchased in litres and we provided casks for it. We had casks commissioned from Miguel Martin Sherry House, and this one is 3 sherry puncheons of liquid that was put into fresh sherry puncheons. So this is all rich Christmas cake, dried fruits, just delicious. So given that I'm not supposed to tell you what the distillery is, I'm not going to talk about the distillery, because this is...
So, sorry, Julie, you're saying that you actually recast this. So was it still new make spirit when you did it, or you?
No, we bought it. We bought it when it was about 8 years old.
Oh, right.
So in parcel number 4, we had a 10-year-old, and this is now parcel 6, and this is 12 years old. So 2 years ago we had the other one, but not 2 years ago we had the other one. 2 years ago the other one was bottled. This one I think is richer. It's had more time in the wood, and it's
absolutely gorgeous.
That is,
So-
it's delicious, isn't it?
One of the
So-
things that you get on the bottle, besides the parcel number, is the angel share number. It's quite unique to the way we do things. Effectively, what it is that when we get the original, thank you, Julie. When you get the original ABV, and then when we bottle it, the ABV goes down to 48%. We measure how much is lost at that time. Excuse me.
Excuse me. Sorry,
Hi.
Chanel, I thought introduce my wife. This is
Oh
Louise.
yeah.
She just heard us talking about that. She reached her hand out to try some. Very good.
Right, get a glass filled.
Right, thanks. Great. Lovely stuff.
Anton,
Well
you
done.
could let me share the screen, please.
Say again?
Could you let me share the screen?
I absolutely can. I'm
Thank you.
1 second.
Sorry, I've just realised I've not been putting the pictures of the bottles up, but all these labels look the same other than the distillery and the numbers on it. So this is a nice one to start with. If you just make me co-host, that'll.
Yeah, I don't have for whatever reason. I don't have that button. There you go. It should be right now.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so these are the labels on the Single Malts of Scotland Reserve casks. As Chanel said, we give you
In the corner.
the angel share. So this one, the angel share is taken from when it goes into cask. So even though it's 12 years old, the angel share in this one's only 3.8, and that's across 3 functions because it's just had 4 years.
It's just had to the angel share. We've only had 4 years because it was vatted and then we put it into our own casks. So that's the information we have to do the angel share. So it's decidedly different to the other ones that you've tried today in terms of angel share. I think from memory it's like 12%, 11%, and then 2. And you're like, what's happened there? And that's why it's only been taken from the last 4 years.
That's good to know.
I imagine this whiskey was in sherry receptacles before.
Yeah.
It might have been refill sherry. It might have been, so we're not 100% sure. We bought it as vatted malt. So when you buy it like that, you're guaranteed the vintage because it'll all be the same vintage. It's a single cask, the ABV, all of these things are all a given, but we didn't get it in the original wood. But I imagine with the distillery that it's come from, that it's been in sherry receptacles of some description.
Ladies, do you know how many bottles were produced of this, roughly?
Oh, I can tell you in a moment.
While you're just quickly having a look at that, I will just tell everybody that we do have a promo code for you guys participating tonight if anyone does wish to find a favorite and try and secure a bottle, and that is SMOS 10. So SMOS 10, you can use that if you buy through Whiskey Company at the checkout, and you'll get 10% off any and all Single Malts of Scotland products. So just wanted to let you know, just in case some of you are starting to maybe think about buying something. There we go. Back to you guys.
No worries. There were 395 bottles. Cases. Excuse me.
I was like, that's not a
No,
lot.
wait, bottles. What am I doing? Oh, my head.
Too early.
Across Asia Pacific and Europe, Canada.
Thanks. Well, just to back up what Anton's just said, Zach, do you remember how many we managed to squeeze out of Chanel?
I think it was about 60. So we got a good percentage
60
there.
bottles.
That's a good chunk.
Yeah.
60 bottles.
See?
Yeah, she's looking after you. She's looking after you.
Right.
I'll tell you, I don't think they're going to last long.
No, I don't think so.
No, sorry, I've maybe just taken the mystery out of that one a wee bit too quickly there. Sorry.
It's all good. It is absolutely delicious.
if it's the case that we have an idea of what the distillery is, I drink whiskey and I like to know what I'm drinking just out of interest more than anything else. This is, it doesn't matter what it is, it's delicious and it's lovely to drink. And we have there's another one that's coming in the pipeline, which is a Highland, and we genuinely don't know what distillery it's from at all.
So good though.
It is really good, but we don't know what the distillery is. So on that occasion, this is a Highland whiskey. It's from there. We can't tell you anything. This is my my market domination map. I've got lots of pins in this map for places that I'm going to go, tie little threads to work out routes and things like that.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Julie, in the case of that Highland that you don't know what it is, do you think that's exacerbated by the fact that it's going to the independent market? If it were to taste as it were going to taste like the distillery's sort of core range, they'd probably use it for that. But if it tastes a bit different.
Do you know, it will be the case that, so again, so there's a number of answers to that question. You know, there are occasions where companies will teaspoon whiskey and you get it as a different brand name. Teaspooning is when, so the romantic version is that they put a teaspoon of another single malt whiskey into the barrel, and then it means that it's no longer a single malt because there's been other whiskey added to it. There's other times I've heard of them just sticking a bottle into the bunghole to put a bottle of whiskey into blah, blah, blah. They mix it slightly. So there's teaspooned whiskey. There are times where we're buying from a broker and we buy it as a Highland whiskey and we're not told, and it doesn't come through in the paperwork. So when it's like that, we can't put any name to it at all. When it's a Highland or a Speyside, it's really tough to try and work it out. When it's Islay, you've got a pretty good go at it. If it's a Lowland, you've got a pretty good go at it. Campbelltown even better, but who gets them? So it is the case that potentially not being told, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's whiskey that the company doesn't want. It's potentially to do with volume. So if they've produced, let's say for talking sake, they've produced a volume of 10-year-old whiskey and it was for a project to go into a blend or a project to go into a single malt, and they've changed direction in the marketing and what they're doing. They've then got this liquid that's been for a particular thing that they no longer need. So they'll put that onto the market. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not typical distillery character. It can just be for a reason to do with volume or to do with changed direction of marketing. And I'm quite sure they'll have filled stuff into mad casks sometimes and they get rid of it. But I would imagine that that's going to be very individual rather than parcels of a particular type. If that answers. Thank you, Zach.
I think so. All righty. You get some time to move it up a bit and move on to the higher cask strength stuff?
Certainly.
Do
so, sorry, Chanel.
No, I just said, let's do this.
So Single Malts of Scotland, as I said at the start, we began bottling this range in 2002, and it was with single cask, single malts. We have also, as I said at the start, we have reserve casks. That's the newest of the labels. Then after that was our next in age was Marriage of Casks. Marriage of Casks being a very similar vibe to reserve casks, except it tends to be older whiskies. Occasionally we'll have whiskies that have fallen under the 40%, and then when we mix them with something else back, a whole variety of different reasons. They're the aged ones. And then we have director specials, which are Sukhinder's prize casks. They come in beautiful wooden boxes and more than probably 2 months of my mortgage per unit. And then we have where we started with Elixir is the single cask, single malts. And these are probably, safe to say, Chanel, these are our favourites to work with. They are just delicious. So this one that you
It's special, right? Like it's special to get a single cask that is just delicious on its own. That's just beautiful on its own. So Ollie has a 3-tick system when it comes to how he deals with our whiskeys. And the 1 tick is it probably needs to be recast, or we need to think about what to do, sell it to someone we don't like, something.
We don't ever do that.
Never said that. I just made that up. But 2 is that we'll blend it out. So we'll blend it with another 2 ticked of the same distillery. And then 3 is absolutely stonking, very delicious. Yes, yes, yes. So when we look at Ollie's notes, we think we're going to get some sort of, I don't know, open understanding of what is in his brain. And instead you just get ticks and you're like, come on, man. But it says a lot to him and how he tastes.
Bottle up.
Oh yeah, so Anton has the Glen Elgin there.
I'm
Do you
just
want me
going
to share the product sheets?
Yeah, I've got bottle shot. Hold on a little sec for me. I'm really sorry. This was
that would be far better
That's
than
what I'm
my
saying.
dodgy camera work.
this was my hour this morning for.
Julia, I've got them. If you.
Oh, do you? Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if I can share. Oh, I can.
You can. Oh, lovely. Okay. Oh, I'm scrolling my mouse trying to move it down. That's ridiculous. Technical genius, Hamilton. There. There you go. Here's my script for it. There's the tasting notes. So 12 years old, Glen Elgin Distillery. This is a space cider. It is a Diageo distillery. This one that you're tasting, 57.2% ABV. And it's very typical of Glen Elgin. So with single malts of Scotland, single casks, it will be classic distillery character that's coming through in the whiskey. And this is no exception. So it's at Glen Elgin, they are producing whiskey that it's had a long fermentation time. So long fermentation, they've produced a really clear wort when they are fermenting, and then they distill it very slowly. So it's as I say, it's whiskey where fruitiness is the absolute key for it.
I typically always get apples in Glen Elgin.
Yeah. So
like
it's
very similar to like an Irish whiskey. Well, I'm not saying that it's like an Irish whiskey, but I always get apples off of Irish whiskey too. But,
a characteristic, yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's also a distillery that uses worm tubs as part of the distillation process.
Still blows my mind.
So
it doesn't taste like a worm tub whiskey.
No.
You know, like it tastes like something that has had a lot of copper contact, which maybe it does. Maybe it's a hot tub, but
they have that. They do distill very slowly, so there is, it's kind of stripping out the sulfur heavy elements in the whiskey. It's doing that in the still as well. But I imagine you're right. It must be pretty hot tubs. Yeah. There are shrimps that thrive in the hot tub, in the warm tubs as well. There's a fun fact about Glen Elgin for you.
It's a favorite.
But yeah,
Glen Elgin is part of Whitehorse, isn't it?
it's one of the components of Whitehorse. Yeah.
One of the components of Whitehorse, probably another blend that I don't remember seeing in Aussie, but I guess I wasn't really looking for Whitehorse at the time. But that's sort of the key thing for Glen Elgin. That's where a lot of its whiskey goes to. It's towards blending.
Well, Whitehorse has also got Lagavulin, isn't it? The Lefroy.
Whitehorse has got Linkwood, Glenlossie, and Manipur in it as well.
I thought it had an Islay in it as well. No? Used to have, anyway.
I don't know that it does actually. Okay. I'm not sure that it does. It's not very.
That was going back when I was a teenager, so it was a couple of years ago.
Do you know,
I'll find you a bottle and send you it.
You might be right, actually. You might be right. Do you know, I'm thinking of White Label, so it might be Whitehorse might have it as well.
Right, no, it doesn't matter. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Whiskey's my jam. Mark's just saying that Whitehorse is only available from one store here in Australia and was always rumoured to have Lagavulin in it.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what's in it. Because they talk about 1960s Whitehorse having really solid Lagavulin content in it. Yes, you're absolutely right.
1960s Whitehorse.
And why I know about that is because I remember many years ago, my father and I were sitting in a pub in Glasgow drinking Whitehorse, and a few days later I took him over to Islay and we went to Lagavulin and there's a Whitehorse on the gate. We said, hello.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A couple of people have mentioned that the nose is amazing, a very clean bourbon cask note, candied peel, and very smooth for a 57% whiskey.
Yeah.
Very delicious.
So light, and just from like going back to what we're talking about with that distillation process that they use worm tubs will give it. So traditionally worm tub whiskey is like Dilluin and Mortlach and all of these kind of heavy, almost chewy whiskies.
Craigellachie, like
yeah. So it's not necessarily a commonly used distillation process, worm tubs, by comparison to number of worm tubs versus shell and tube. But the thing that it gives this spirit is weight, so it gives it a bit of clout. It is fruity, it is light, and then it's going through worm tubs, so it does give it a bit of body.
Sorry, I just reading Matters has said in relation to Ian's comment about drinking and Bill was saying, I remember drinking White Horse in the 70s. He said, I remember I drank a lot of Ribena in the 70s.
Like Cremola foam in the 70s. Yeah.
And then Alex, has come in with a slightly salted distinct orchid fruits and superb, which I think we can all pretty much agree with.
It is a faithful whiskey. Like, it is a faithful whiskey. It's just, always gives the goods.
Absolutely. A note that we had was homemade apple jelly spread on buttered bread. So that salted note is just exactly that. It's lovely, fruity, and I don't think we've had a bad one, to be honest. I don't think we've had a bad Glen Elgin. I think they're always very consistent and delicious. Someone's looking for the link for that one, Anton. What do we think to this one?
I just realised I'm neglecting my duties. I
think you're too much whiskey, Anton. That's fine.
It's a horrible crime. There you go, guys. There's the link up there now. Yeah, I think just, again, looking at the cameras that we can see, there's pretty happy people out there with that one. And that would take us on, I guess, to the Tobermory then.
Got you.
Look at that, seamlessly transition to the photo.
So on the single malts of Scotland labels, they are all very similar. From a distance, they're similar. Every single one has a pen drawing of the distillery on it. And sorry, I'm looking at this one. Is that the one that you were talking about, Chanel? The pen drawing of Tobermory?
No.
No.
No, it was the pizza. Sorry.
So Tobermory is the only distillery on the Isle of Mull, and they produce Tobermory single malt and Leitchick single malt as well, Leitchick being their peated version of that. This one is unpeated. So this one we've got, it's 26 years old. This one is coming in at 56.4% ABV. How many bottles was there of that one, Chanel? Can you scroll up just a little bit?
Oh, sorry. Yes,
okay.
there were
Just tell us.
232 bottles made.
232 bottles. So going back to what we were saying about the reserve casks and that giving us more liquid to play with, this is an example of, we've got to spread that across all of Asia Pacific. So that's quite a lot of people to share that with.
From
That's why,
what's that?
Chanel, that's why we just take everything you offer us. So keep offering it.
Excellent. I'll keep that in mind.
Handy information to have.
I have not had a Tobermory that tasted like this before. I mean, I haven't had this age statement on a Tobermory before, in fairness, but this was this blew my mind. Yeah, this was the golden gem, I think, from this release for me.
Yes, that's right. I remember this now. That's right. This was at the time when we were doing a tasting panel together, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we do tasting panels when we get all the whiskeys in, and it's the first time we get to try. So Europe, Canada have sister casks to Asia Pacific, and
there's no rival
round. I won this round, and I was very pleased. I win rounds, so that's okay.
I will just quickly jump in, to interrupt for a second here before people, a couple of people have already started to notice, but unfortunately we are already sold out for the Tobermory, so I can't put a link in and it's unavailable, but we are all at least lucky to be able to get to try such a rare Tobermory expression that we've got that, as Chanel was saying, is quite distinct and unique and whatnot. So hope you all enjoy that, and from a more experienced educational point of view, but unfortunately I won't be able to include that with the offerings tonight, but hope you all enjoy it either way.
That's really cool, because there really wasn't a lot. This is quite special. We're obviously 232 bottles to spread is yeah, it's really quite a special dram, so that's great that you could include that, Anton.
Yeah, no, we thought that it was something pretty special. So when we said we were speaking with Ian and Zach and said, well, we're going to do this tasting, so we thought, no, we'll hold one bottle and split that up amongst 44 people who ended up getting it. So yeah, so one of those 231 or whatever it was to 34 is split up amongst us all. So yeah, that's great that we could give everyone an opportunity to taste it.
Really cool.
I was going to say, sometimes it's nice to get to taste whiskey. It doesn't, it's just an opportunity, as you say, an experience rather than this isn't a sales drive on this one. It's just sit back and enjoy it. Our tasting notes for this one, we had a side table shines with orange oil wood polish. This is on the nose. On it sits a new leather satchel of books, a latte sweetened with almond syrup and dusted with cocoa, cools for drinking.
So this was from our tasting panel.
Anybody get any of that?
You might have been like 3 whiskeys down at this stage by the time we
get more inventive as we go on.
Worse than this one. We were feeling romantic.
On the
Sorry.
palate, this one we had vanilla ice cream and mixed fruit sundae with butterscotch sauce and topped with crushed, crispy chocolate-covered honeycomb. Bold and crusted granary bread is spread with salted butter and fruit preserve.
It's on the nose, Leo and Ellen, on the nose.
that was a very good comment.
We're smelling leather boots, we're not licking leather boots. Come on.
Each to their own, but yeah.
I mean, we do some weird stuff with whiskey, but definitely not licking leather boots.
Too far.
And it's a leather satchel with books anyway. People just not listening, that's what that is. No. And then on the finish we had chocolate biscuits and rooibos tea.
Ooh.
There we go. A little bit tannic on the finish. But
I think Julie, it's not people listening. It's you might have a wee bit of an accent there.
sorry.
Oh, I
Yeah, the first
apologise.
people
I stand in front of the mirror. I stand in front of the mirror every morning and practice mine.
I normally do. You're the first people I've spoken to today, so it's unfortunately everyone knows leathers for chewing. There you go. And smelling. And smelling. What are we thinking of this Tobermory? Is everyone enjoying it?
It's fantastic.
Yeah. So it's one of the distilleries. So Distill have Tobermory, Deanston,
Bunnahabhain,
Bunnahabhain.
and then there's a South African whiskey called Three Ships, if you ever see that. And then Black Bottle is their blend.
Yes, which they changed, and they've rebranded recently. So they've got different variations of Black Bottle now as well, which I've not managed to try yet. But I saw it from afar at the weekend at a whiskey festival. So I must. Anyone get any questions about us or the whiskey or Trivial Pursuits? Anything at all? A leather belt rather than a leather satchel. There you go.
If you do have any questions, particularly, feel free to politely unmute yourself and ask away. And if not, we'll move on to the Kalila, and at the very end, we'll open up again for general questions then. But I think they're all keen to keep drinking whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay.
Not as smooth a transition this time.
So, well, I'll fill for you. The last whiskey that we're going to taste then is from Kalila. Here we go. That was seamless. There you go.
Pretty proud of.
10 years old. This one is one of those lucky sherry butts that we were talking about. Doesn't happen very often. So we had a whole 643 bottles of this one. We bottled this as 61.1%. And this is, yeah, we had some really interesting notes on this one. I'll leave that for a second. So Kalila is the biggest producing Diageo distillery on the Isle of Islay. They have the capacity to produce, they don't always necessarily produce, but 6.5 million litres of liquid a year. So big production from that distillery.
Were they the only ones open during COVID, during lockdown?
No, they've been, I don't know, where they continue, they've been closed. I don't know if it's closed to the public. I think Kalila was actually closed. I don't know whether, I think production has still kept going, but they've definitely been closed to the public.
I think, sorry, Julie, if I may, but I think Kalila just so automated. I mean, I think it's run by about 3 or 4 people. I think there's more people in the visitor centre than are in the distillery, so they could have kept going. You know, it's all, the mash tun is enormous.
Yeah. Those 3 people, though, are still doing a very, very important job.
Of course they are, absolutely. I mean, the production's
It's not.
great.
Yeah, it is. Kalila is Kalila is actually a good way to write that down, Matt. Yes, Kalila. This is a discussion I have regularly with people who correct me on how to pronounce it. Normally they're English people who are correcting me on how to pronounce it, but yes, Kalila. Think of tequila.
Don't think of tequila.
Don't think of tequila. Tequila.
That was not that.
Maybe Kalila can make a tequila.
Tastes like tequila. So yeah, going back to that, 95% of, in fact, it's probably the majority of the Diageo distilleries, 95% of what they produce goes into blends. But, and it's Islay and not Islay, yes, Islay.
Sorry, I thought you meant the last word of Kalila, not
right.
not Islay.
Yeah, 95% in spirits. So there's only 5% of it goes into single malt production, and they have their own portfolio as well. Kalila is probably the distillery that's closest to our hearts in Elixir Distillers. We bottle it under every label we have. So we have Single Malts of Scotland with the 4 brands under there. We have Elements of Islay, where we have a core range and small batches, and we have Port Askaig, which is also the core range. It's from Kalila. So it's whiskey that we hold very dear. So that's why I'm very defensive of those 3 people who are, who are operating at Kalila. They're doing a smashing job. But it's whiskey that is very consistent, and it's very consistently good. It's hard to find a rubbish Kalila. Ollie maintains that you should get your keys taken off you if you can manage to produce a bad one out there in the independent bottling market. So yeah, this one's a little bit different from normal because they fill the majority of their stock into refill American oak, but this one has been in a sherry cask. So because of that, we're getting a kind of fruity note in among the smoke there as well. This may be probably, in fact, not maybe, probably, this will be the end of our tasting channel, because we were we were crossing over a muddy garden to get to open the door of a cold meat smoker before it's fired up. Play-Doh and Lego blocks are stacked and stored in a wooden toy box. Red fruit chutney and smoked meats. That was their nose on that whiskey. Michael, sometimes Port Askaig equals Kalila. So the 8-year-old and the 100 proof equal Kalila. We do bottle from other Islay distilleries as well. So Port Askaig is more about a concept of the gentler side of Islay. So if we have whiskies from different distilleries on Islay that are nice and gentle and nuanced flavours, then they can go under the Port Askaig range. We do have other distilleries, so we've bottled from Bunnahabhain and we've also bottled from Liquori, but Kalila is probably the mainstay that goes into that brand. Yeah.
I think, Julie, your Port Askaig 15-year-old was Bunnahabhain, was it?
It's Bunnahabhain, yeah, that is. Yeah. The 45-year-old is Bunnahabhain as well.
45, 40.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the 45-year-old is sister Casks to the old acquaintance.
Wow, that'd be a treasure.
28-year-old was a Liquori, right? Or we think it's a.
The 28 is a good example of we bought Islay whiskey, but with some fairly discerning palates in our company. So we reckon it's Liquori for the 28. But yeah, we'll bottle from a number.
Very good.
Yeah. So it's yeah, I just, I always feel like I want to clap when I'm talking about Kalila, because it's just, it's so good. It is an interesting Kalila. It is this one. It's not, it's, well, 61.1.
You're allowed to have water with this, I think.
But it doesn't feel like 61.1. I don't know if you guys are getting that out there, but I mean, I'm agreeing with every single comment that's coming through about, you know, smoky barbecue brisket and the pork rinds and all that sort of smoked barbecue flavors, similar to what you were saying about your crossing the path and opening that cold smoked meat house thing. And
Yeah.
but when you actually taste it, it doesn't feel as strong as that.
No.
At all.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, you know, personally, I think it's a great sign of quality whiskey when you have a high ABV and you don't think it's such a high ABV. It really is just, it's a great sign that the whole making of the whiskey has been very high quality. You know, and this is a great example. 61 points. You know, I mean, you would, if you put it on blind, you think it was 50 something, wouldn't you? That's amazing.
But again, a little water, just will open it. I'm going back to, sorry, Michael, you were asking about the autumn edition. Autumn edition of Port Askaig is Kalila, yes. The spring and the autumn editions are Kalila. So again, we'll tell you when we know. I'm lining up the prerequisite that we don't know what the Highland is. This is future investment chats. We don't know what the Highland is, but we'll tell you. So we were getting on the palate of this one, a fresh, salty, soft pretzel dipped in sticky and smoky dipping sauce with dry baked ham and clean handkerchiefs from a waxed jacket pockets, which is a very specific tasting note, but that was one that we that we got to. Again, no licking or chewing, clean hankies. It probably would have, yeah.
You just say that again, Julie. Clean handkerchiefs from
There was a
what?
way to say.
I've got waxed leather pocket.
A waxed jacket pocket.
That's so specific.
Okay.
Very specific. As I say, this would have been the last on the
Who
tasting.
signed this off?
Bearing in mind, bearing in mind that we were probably on dram 18 at this point.
That was a big session.
Yeah. Dry and lightly smoky with a sweet and salty finish. Rounded off with the word delicious, which is also an indication that we were at the end of our day. This is delicious.
Stop reading them.
I do. I stand by. I absolutely stand by the that kind of taste of. Thank you. So silly, isn't it? Yeah, you maybe wouldn't like to go on the tasting panel with produce nonsense like that. That's
it's poetry. Damn it, it's poetry.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Can I ask, guys, how far in advance do you see these whiskies, and like, what's your what's the rollout for these new lines?
I'll take that one. So it sort of depends. We try to spread them out as much as possible. There tends to be let me see if I get this right. For reserve cask, there tends to be 3 releases throughout the year. Now it's been really tough actually, mate. Like we typically like to spread them out to make sure that there's enough room between the 2 rollouts. But with COVID kind of kicking our butt in the bottling warehouse and all of that, a lot of the time it's landed and we've just sent it out. What's typically supposed to happen is that it's supposed to come in and we hold it until it's ready to go and then we push it out. So
it's spread kind of equally throughout the year.
yeah. So at the moment it's pretty fast. Like as soon as when I tell you, I've pretty much I've probably been told for a couple of days that it's ready to launch.
Fantastic.
I'll tell you what, I'm just finished off this Kalila, and it's just so beautifully sweet.
Yeah.
It's
I want another
Oh my
one.
gosh. Yeah.
But
Gorgeous.
on the
Julian
finish of
is
that,
known to sit on a bottle of Kalila. She's in Glasgow, I'm in London, so a bottle each. and forget our forget the time. For sure. Just so tasty.
Yeah.
speaking of time, we need to let you guys go and get on with your days because, especially with a hastened morning, I'm sure you've got plenty of other things to fit into with your busy schedules. So before we let the girls go, is there any final questions or anything that anyone out there has, either whether it's about the whiskies today, any feedback or thoughts, or what your favorite was, or any other questions in general?
So Alex asked there about thinking, is it maybe refill sherry? I would suggest yes, most likely. It'll be refill sherry.
Especially with the stewed fruits.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Thanks.
Matt's just said this has been his fantastic first tasting. Tip of the hat to the presenters, to Julian Schnell. So well done, and well done for joining the tasting crew, Matt. Well done for that. Tasting order was spot on. Thank you. I'm off to find a clean hanky and waxed pocket for future reference.
Make sure it's come out of the waxed jacket pocket though. Don't just be taking it out of any pocket. It's coming out of the wax.
He's finding a waxed pocket.
But no, look, with that, I think we'll say another communal thank you to both Chanel and Julie for your time and for joining us today. Thank you to Ian and Zach for facilitating and organising all the rest of it. Thank you to all of you guys for participating tonight, and any of you who are watching this retrospectively on YouTube. We hope that you guys have enjoyed it just as much, and found a favourite that you can pick from this bunch. I think I've got about 3 favourites at the moment, but I think that Kalila at the end might have just pipped it. So with that, I'm about to terminate the recording, and I hope you all have a pleasant night, pleasant day for you too, and more importantly, stay safe, everybody, and we'll catch you at the next one. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Just
Having us.
briefly before you go, Anton, thank you very much for organising all this. It's been great, and getting your audience together. So thank you very much. Chanel, Julie, thank you as ever. Fantastic. You two guys are a great tag team. So from Marlborough Whiskey's point of view, thank you very much. Anton, once again, please pass our thanks to Craig and company.
I absolutely will. Yeah, and on behalf of Craig and myself, likewise, thanks to you for facilitating all of it. And that'll do it. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye-bye.
much.